Would you look at that? You know what time it is, Samuel?
Yes, it is hairy arm o'clock.
Yes, it's also Fleetyards mission briefing time.
Oh.
Once again, I'm Captain Foley.
I am Connor Cockings. Hey guys, we do great skits, don't we, on this show?
Yes. Yes, we do. But anyway, this is the show where we look at sci-fi ships from all the multiple genres out there, or not genres, franchises out there of sci-fi and fantasy maybe. And we discuss them, we break them down, we just take a first look at the ships basically. We go into details and stuff in full episodes of Fleetyards, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. And all these ships are great detailed models rendered by Samuel. Give us some fantastic pictures to look at and just, focus on the details and talk. So Samuel,
Yes.
I don't know what we're doing today because this is one that you're bringing to the table. So what ship are we looking at?
Well, this I think is a sci-fi. It's only in my world a classic, and I'm sad it hasn't had the same lifespan as some other ships. It's not a studio model. This is a fan model, to take that with a grain of salt. But we are looking at the Andromeda Ascendant from Andromeda, or Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, based on story ideas he had. So, have you seen Andromeda, the TV show?
No, I have not.
Damn, it's a good show. Force Lance and all different things. And we have some models from Andromeda, which we'll see at some point, but this is a fan one. So this might actually be your first time seeing the ship. Cool. So if you go into this picture then, this is the Andromeda Ascendant.
It's not my first time seeing the ship. I'm well aware of the ship, and
Okay.
some of the actors like Kevin Sorbo and stuff,
Yes.
and just didn't look interesting to me ever. So
The first season isn't great, and the CG is awful, but it gets much better, and the last season's absolute garbage. But the fourth season is really good. It builds up so well, and then it ruins it. Anyway, that's a tangent. What do you think of this design? Because definitely not, as we looked at previously, a grey box Earth ship. Something a little bit different. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a distinct looking design. It's very unique. There's a lot of elements there that we don't really see in other ships. Like you said, it's not boxy, it's not square. It's got very rounded and organic looking. I think it's pretty cool.
It's also very simple, but deceptively so, with how it all comes together. That's how I always see it.
Yeah, I would say so. One of the things that strikes me right away is I can't see any visible windows. Is that just because they're not on the model, or because they're not on the show?
I don't think there are any windows on the ship. I don't think it's the sort of ship to have windows. I'm looking at the studio one now. Yeah, I don't really see windows. But it is an interestingly sized ship. And this model is less detailed than the studio one. But it's still good. I mean, it's still got a lot of great stuff. So, some background on the Ascendant. She's a Glorious Heritage class. Serial number XMC, not NCC, 10284. It's got 50 decks. It was built or launched in the year 9772 CY by the Commonwealth. And there's a lot of information about this ship. I'll talk about some stuff when we work out the sizing. But for my first impression, I knew of Andromeda for ages, and I do remember watching an episode or two and not being impressed. But I just thought I'd sit down one day and just start watching it. And the first season was okay, a little bit PG, a little bit safe. It wasn't really doing. But then again, TNG season one's also quite a bit less so, but still. And the CG, like I said, was not very good at all. But this ship was such a statement. Like if you want to have another iconic ship to like this is not anything else. You can't get confused with a Star Destroyer, with Enterprise. This is its own thing, and I was always quite impressed by that, and the colour palette, and I absolutely love, I don't know if you've seen it in the show, but how it goes into FTL. It opens a breach, and then these tendrils fly out, grab the ship, and then it pulls it in. Because that's
scary.
Yeah, because each of those, if you look at the model, on the wings, on the necks, the parts on the outside, you can see these little like spikes coming out. They like glow, and the tendrils attach onto them because they're like pulling a tendril into it, which then pulls it into FTL, and it's very aggressive going through. I've always loved that, and it's very difficult to pilot. You've got to manually control it, and you're using these sort of strings. You're sort of riding a roller coaster of FTL to go locations, and it's good pilots manage to do it, and a bigger ship is even harder, and some pilots just get killed in their FTL. I think it's slip space, I can't remember. And so it's very, like, that really hit me as a cool effect. And also the size and just the power of the ship is a very interesting ship. But talk to me about scale. You've said no windows, but what is your gut feeling about the scale?
Well, initially I didn't think it was super big. I thought maybe twice the size of like a Constitution class, TOS Constitution class, lengthwise anyway. But then you said 50 decks, and that got me thinking that. And with the Constitution class having about 21 decks, it's making me think it's a lot bigger. From the side, it's about twice as big, which makes me think the length is probably a little bit longer than what I initially thought. Because I initially wouldn't think it's very big, but 50 decks is a lot of decks.
Yeah, it is. Although
assuming they're all the same size as like Federation decks, which are what, like 8.
My gut reaction though to this ship is in fact that all of those articulations are not manned. That's technology. That is a slip space generator, is the shields, is the thing. So only that middle section is actually manned. That was my gut reaction. Maybe the pod on top. Maybe there's a few other bits, but I think just the middle bit is actually livable space, which is why it being so thick is the 50 decks. But shall we show you the scale and answer that question?
Yes, let's do that.
Next picture.
Oh, see? Like twice as long as the Enterprise E, for crying out loud.
But if you only think of the middle bit as being space, though, then it's only a little bit bigger.
Okay, yeah, I can get behind that.
Because you're right, it's bigger than I thought it was. But when you looked at it like that,
yeah,
because I mean, think of the pylon struts on the E. Well, a lot of these pylons are even thinner than that, smaller. I mean, there might be maybe a single walkway through just so you can get places to fix things, like but I don't think they're going to be quarters in these other bits. I think very much that's like you need the warp engines to be the way they are. I think this is how you need to get the FTL drive to work, having all those things put together. That's my thought. What do you think about the scale and yeah?
I think the scale's fine. Like a lot of we've said this before. Star Trek ships seem to be a little bit smaller than most other sci-fi franchises. But as you said, if all that middle part is basically just the living space and the rest is tech, it really is quite comparable to like the D or the well, more of the D than the E. The E's got a lot less space than the D does internally, so. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, and I think you're right. I think a lot of those elements are tech or struts to hold on to tech, and I'm sure there are a few engineering rooms and, like you said, crawlways or walkways to get to things. But yeah, no living quarters or anything. So I'm fine with that. I think that's really cool, actually, and the fact that those are kind of like tendril shapes, like what comes out and grabs the ship. I think ties into the whole FTL thing, which is really fascinating to me. Like I think. Certain franchises like
it's called Slipstream. This one's Slipstream.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, certain franchises like Warhammer and stuff, where there's warped space that they travel through for warp, where they kind of go into another. I always wondered how they discovered that, because Star Trek always makes sense. Is that they create the warp nacelles that create the warp bubble that just moves the ship, or moves the space around the ship, as the case may be, but. These kind of organic different realms where there's tendril, like how did they learn to pilot that? How did they discover that these tendrils reach out to these things? And like do you know what I mean? Like how do you develop that kind of technology based on something that's already existing in the universe, and then learn how to pilot it without like every test pilot would like die because they didn't know what to do, and we lost another one, let's just build another ship. You want to be the next person to volunteer? Like how did they do that?
That sounds like we need to have a Fleetyards episode just about the different styles of FTL in different universes.
That's an awesome discussion, actually.
Compare them.
Podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely, I hadn't ever considered that. I mean, normally in science fiction shows, a lot of the time we are introduced to the technology by another alien race. So in Stargate, we see hyperspace via another race. In Earthfall Conflict, via the main ones. I mean, there's always an extra force, and oh, we know it exists because of them. Let's just try and tap into that. You know, Star Trek was being the exception. Star Wars, I think, is very much pushing its way through. Like that, I think, is still thrusts. Like it's hyperspace. It's still forcing its way through subspace. That's more just another layer of. Like that makes more sense. Whereas you're right, this sort of thing, tendrils and something complicated is yeah, that's interesting. Luck.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense if it's introduced from another alien species because maybe they developed that layer of subspace themselves. It's actually an artificial construct.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, it's just something I've always wondered about certain FTL drives. It's like, how did they discover this? But we're kind of getting off topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised. I mean, one thing I think about this ship is it is a battleship. I mean, the Commonwealth they're unlike the Federation because I mean, there's a lot of similarities between the two. And I actually quite like Andromeda as well, at least the later seasons. Unlike the Federation from Star Trek. Now, note we always compare this to the Starfleet ships because this is the Fleetyards mission briefing style. We've got all the ships scaled to Trek. For the full episode, we'll be comparing it to maybe a Star Destroyer or other universes, but they take longer to work out the scale charts. We always do it to Trek because we have that. We can just work that out pretty quickly. Plus, it's a Star Trek channel. But Federation is not a peacekeeping organization per se. It's an exploration. It's the military-ish arm of a government, but it explores primarily. Whereas the Commonwealth is the military peacekeeping side. But like full on, that's their job. They're not exploring. So these ships are designed, like the E, designed for battle. This ship is designed for battle. So my gut is also that a lot of its size is because huge amount of armor, huge amount of thick armor. So you could probably, if you're just making, I mean, there are slip fighters that can go through FTL. Obviously, they're very limited in their ability, but the technology is still that small. So I think it's so big because they're really, you know, maybe even meters and meters of hull armor, so that, you know, you can't annihilate the FTL ability, and then same with the hull, you can't pummel through and kill people. You know, you're taking missiles, you're taking whatever, it can just survive. I mean, this ship takes a lot of hits by the end of the show. I mean, this thing survives a lot. That's my gut as well, and I don't know how you feel about it, but how big the tendrils are feels like it's bulk, but armor bulk.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I didn't know it was a battleship or anything. It makes me wonder with the configuration of those tendrils and struts and things, if those aid in the shielding capabilities of the ship to extend the shields kind of like a bubble around the ship. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
sense. Make sense because the main living component is directly in the middle, and then the shields would form. I don't know. I think I agree with you that it's probably a lot of armor. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a heavy cruiser. That's what they classify as. But let's go to the next picture. Just compared to other ships of the universe, because again, there are big ships in Star Trek. Because I mean, Trek, the Federation of small ships. What do you think now, comparing it to the Trekyards and Jem'Hadar cruiser, not battleship? And again, studio models, everything studio model except for the Commonwealth ship.
Well, I didn't expect the Trekyards to be bigger than it.
Okay.
That's one thing. I expected it to be a little bit bigger than the Trekyards based on the last picture. But then again, the Trekyards doesn't have a lot of, you know, usable space for, interior volume either. So that whole middle part's kind of hollow, so.
I like it because it really puts into perspective the Trekyards we associate as this big ship, but it makes sense to us. Well, there's a lot of empty space, and it's very functionally that big for a reason. I think that's very similar to the Commonwealth, you know, Andromeda. It's big, but at the same time, there's lots of space. There's lots of lack of stuff, but functionally, it's all that it is for a reason, and it does make it feel more realistic size-wise when you compare it to actually. Some races do that. This is just one of those variants of humanity, which I think is why I did the shot.
Yeah. I just love the design of the Andromeda. It's just so out of the box for a ship design. But anyway, let's move to the next picture. Get a view. Oh my god.
Good. That's sort of what I was hoping for there.
That Deredex looks hugely scaled, man.
It's a big ship. It's a big ship. I mean,
the size of that is kind of fluctuate a little bit somewhat in the show.
Yeah,
but
well, you can fly, an Enterprise E through it really easily. It's a big ship, and in these sorts of angles, because it is. I mean, there's so much bulk to the top, and it is a very pushing out ship. Look front, it doesn't seem as big, or the top, in proportion. But yeah, it's definitely a big ship. But it definitely makes the Commonwealth ship feel a bit smaller now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. Wow. I love the way that Andromeda looks though. Just it's so cool. It's such a great take on a ship design.
I like it when he's enthusiastic. There's this nice little smile to Stuart.
Yeah, Sylvia calls it the Kirk smirk. I got that stupid smirk on my face. So.
You can really see though the decks and just how they're really just cramming as much functional space into that middle bit as possible. Because it's a very simple middle bit, but it's just space, crew, decks, technology, and it does sort of equate, I think, roughly, deck-wise. I think it's pretty, it's another Gene Roddenberry-ish, show. I don't think he was around, well, he wasn't around when they were doing the show, but it's based on his notes. I don't know if he did scale as part of the notes. But I'd like to think that show would keep some of his, let's make it make sense. So I think this works in that regard.
I do find it odd that there are no windows, though. I don't know about you, but if I was in a spaceship, I'd want some kind of form of seeing out, just to get rid of the claustrophobic aspect of it. And 50 decks makes sense if you think about the D and the E there. The E's got like 26 decks. Enterprise D has about 42 decks. So, I mean, if you stack those together, overlay those ships, I can see 50 decks. No problem there. And they're not all the same. They're not all the length of the ship, obviously, because there's that upper part at the back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see the 50 decks fitting in there perfectly.
Nice.
Just thought I'd mention that. Next picture. This is a shot, I assume, from the backish?
Yes. Yeah. Just like with all the other pictures, they do the same angles. It's the back to the right-hand side, and you can sort of see the engine components, I suppose. And
you know what it looks like? The first thing that comes to my mind when I see this? The small bones in the inner ear of a human. It looks exactly like that kind of structure.
Yeah. Well, one problem with this model, though, is there is very little detail on the back, so there's not as much to talk about. But it's certainly a very odd design. Although when you look at it like this, it actually puts it really into perspective that the ship is a middle bit, and with two circles that are on the edge, that are the things that are that's what the FTL sort of goes through. So those are like the warp nacelles, they're just built differently. Basically, it's a double ring ship.
Yeah. Cool.
In a sense.
Yeah, there's not much detail to really talk about, is there? Like, what kind of sublight propulsion is there? Or do we get a shot of that later?
I don't even know where it comes out of. But in terms of sublight propulsion, I can tell you what that is. It has got an anti-proton fusion generator with navigational thrusters. The FTL is a Mark 5, 6, 7, 8 slipstream engine, and it has at least 40 PSL without killing the inhabitants using her magnetoplasma dynamic drives. And that's its max sublight. It's 40 PSL.
Facts. There's a teaser for the full episode, guys. We go into all these details and kind of...
It's going to be so great.
Let's jump to the next picture real quick. So is there like a shuttle bay on the back in the middle there? Or is that probably...
I mean, I don't remember...
shuttles? Or
oh, yeah. Yeah, it has a lot of actual... It's actually... it was a big ship, has a lot of secondary parts to the ship. It, in fact, has... let me just find it. It, in fact, has 16 ES-15 Oracle drones, 8 ES-14 Janus drones, 36 RF-42 Centaur tactical fighters, 76 R8-26 Strike, and 12 AF/A29 Phoenix. And I'm surprised that none of them are slip fighters unless they are... Okay, they're all slip fighters, just in variants. So a slip fighter is very similar to a Death Glider. And we've actually got the model, which we'll show you for the full episode. And there's different variations of combat fighters that can... Sort of similar to Battlestar Galactica Vipers. They got those laser machine guns. And then the slip with those organic shapes that lets them go to... So very functional. When you send a fleet of slip fighters, and it's a pretty deadly thing. And they launch out of a fighter bay. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. You know, you're looking at 36 plus 76 plus 12, so that's 130-ish. And that's a pretty hefty amount.
Yeah, so a lot of that internal volume is hangar space then.
Yeah.
Of those 50 decks.
Yeah.
Did it say the crew complement on this thing?
Yes. What do you think?
700.
Ooh, no. 4,500 living crew. With 6 androids and 2,300 extra, that's passenger if you need to have them. So it has a physical space for 6,000.
I guess. I mean,
800.
Andrew Probert designed the Enterprise D to hold 4,000 to 6,000 crew. Gene Roddenberry said they didn't have enough extras for that, so the crew in that was 1,012 people. I just didn't expect that much.
Because the way the ship is designed, it was at the height of the Commonwealth's everything. So obviously they can pack as many people on the ship to do every system, to do science, to do exploration, to do ground troops, to do assault troops, to do everything on one. And this was sort of the highest, almost the highest at the time. It does seem a little bit excessive, but at the same time, maybe you need a few crew to then go off and be a repair crew to just send off to another ship if need be. We've got just the excess. Although in the show, it's been a long time since the Commonwealth, the Problem One existed, and they have like 7 people control the ship. So clearly you don't need that many people. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know.
Just with that many auxiliary craft and hangar space you'd need, that crew amount just doesn't translate for me.
Maybe. Well, no, you go first.
I was going to say, unless these side pods, which are kind of at the lower part of the rings, maybe are some kind of storage for auxiliary craft. I don't know. I've never seen them launch from this ship. I don't know.
No, it's from the main area. Okay. What if, because it's such a high-profile, state of the art, what if they literally have a rotation system where there's 2,000 people working the ship, doing all the functions, and those other 2,000 go and sleep in the bunks and then rotate, and so rather than having people work on shifts, you have literally a night crew and a day crew. So the ship is always fully functional, fully manned, fully ready, but you don't need, some things, maybe. And then 2,000 people operating a ship, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I got a problem with the crew side. But...
Yes, but the next picture is a side view again, showing off some of those cool details. Don't know what any of them are. They look cool though. And I'm pretty sure that top pod is a weapons pod, because it does have those like missile things and sort of the equivalent of torpedoes. And this is a very strong ship. It's got a lot of different weapons. A lot of different weapons.
I think we should mention too that this isn't directly from the side. This is a 3/4 kind of view. Mm-hmm. Because when you said it's a side shot, I'm looking at it going, it doesn't look like the side view at all. And then I'm like, oh, it's 3/4. I just don't want people getting confused.
Yeah, I don't tend to do orthos for this show.
Yeah.
But do you want to know the weapon complement for this ship?
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me anyway. Of course I want to know.
Offensive systems. First, missiles. It has 200 electromagnetic launched system missile tubes, 200 tubes, which have anti-ship missiles, smart anti-ship missiles with extended range, strategic star arrow multiple independent kill vehicle missiles, and then variant strike arrow surface attack variant missiles, and kinetic projectile weapons of the OM-5, only the best, standard offensive kinetic kill missile, and the M5 standard defensive kinetic kill missile, and particle beams, 12 point defense laser particle beams, 12 anti-proton cannons, and even the strongest Nova bomb and negative energy bomb. So it's got some bite.
I would say so. It sounds like I want to watch Andromeda now because it sounds like it's an interesting series.
Yeah, when it's later on, it does a lot because I mean it's got the it's very much you've got the anti-missile defense screens, but then you're pummeling missiles. I mean you've got and they're so interchangeable as I heard. There's all these different variants. So it's very much a gunboat. It's like a torpedo boat. I mean that would be a hell of a weapons system.
I'm just trying to find out where 200 missile launchers are. Because I don't see anything that looks like missile launchers.
But isn't that another Star Trek trope almost? A smooth hull, where are the weapons? And also it's this model. But I mean the real model, I don't know if they have visible tubes. I mean it's an old show.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Alright, so let's go to the next picture. This is a close-up of the main hull, I would suppose.
Primary hull, yeah.
That looks like a shuttle bay at the top there. Like a
maybe
hangar thing there.
Well, yeah,
kind of under that pod.
Yeah, it's just very organic and somewhat phallic, unfortunately. But it's yeah.
Yes.
Not much you can deduce. I mean, where's the bridge?
Right in the heart of the ship.
Yeah, I would say so too. That would make sense for a battleship.
It would.
Let's go to the next picture, which is an aft view, and I'm assuming propulsion, again, limited by the model. I'm assuming propulsion, maybe an aft fighter bay. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Then you can go straight into battle, fire all your guns, launch all the fighters out, at no risk, maybe.
Yeah, I would say maybe those the two things, one on each side, might be the propulsion, and then the middle part would make sense to be a hangar bay. But then again, I'm thinking Star Trek terms. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe that's the propulsion. I don't know. Let's go to the next picture, which ironically enough is the first picture, which is the last picture. We do this a lot. But this is the classic view, the 3/4 view, which everyone loves. And yay. I think it's a great ship. You're going to ask me my final thoughts, but I'm going to tell you right now. I love the fact that it's unique. The design, the approach to this design is really outside the box, and I really like that. I can get behind this kind of ship. It's the big, bulky bricks that are gray. We've seen a lot of them on this show, and there's a lot in sci-fi, but I mean, those are probably the easiest to construct and whatever, but this is really cool. I like this. This is visually appealing. Having heard all the things that this is capable of, makes me want to watch the show. And that's something I really appreciate about this Fleetyards mission briefing, is the fact that I'm thinking I might want to watch a lot of these sci-fi franchises that I've either just ignored or kind of made my mind up that I didn't want to watch just because they're not Star Trek, which is bad thinking. But I'm thinking I should probably check these out. So thank you, Samuel.
The first step on the way to recovery is admitting you've got a problem. And I think we just heard that here live on Fleetyards.
I'm a Star Trek snob, and I apologize.
But this is still a Gene Roddenberry show, so sort of. Yeah, closing thoughts. I mean, I wish we had the real model. Maybe one day we will, because like I said, we have one or two other ones from Andromeda, so again, real detail. But you got to cover the big one first, haven't you? The Andromeda from Andromeda. So this model is lacking detail, certainly, but the shapes are all there, and the essence of what it is. And having seen it in the show, it's a surprisingly large ship. Surprisingly maneuverable, but it really kicks a lot of ass, and definitely part of the story. And having such a unique ship like this is part of the story. It's not a simple brick. It is a thing. I've always liked it, and I can't wait to do full animations with it in the future. It'd be a lot of fun to see it, flying, next to the D, and the small little D, and it goes rolling by. It'd be pretty hefty ship. Well, this would be great to go against Romulans. That'd be a fun battle.
Yeah,
someone to finally take them to town. Yeah, that is it for this week's Fleetyards mission preview. Hope you guys have enjoyed our show, the format, the ships, the love for all things apart from Trek, as an extra to Trek. And if you want to support this show and help us get to those full episodes as we keep teasing, you've got to help us on Patreon, guys. We've got to get... It's a YouTube monthly donation service, and you've got to support us there by donating $5 a month, a cup of coffee, to help us spend the time to make these shows and to put the effort in to make these amazing new shows for you all, possibly even with designers. We will see. We're always working on that sort of stuff, guys. So go to patreon.com/Trekyards, support us. When we hit that 1,000 goal, that's going to start coming to you. And we are so excited. So yeah. And don't forget, if you like the video, please like the video. Hit click
click the like button. Hit click. Click the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And there's a little bell icon beside the subscribe button. That's notifications. If you want to be notified of every release we do, just click that and you'll automatically get notified. So don't forget that. Also, share the video. If you know people that like Andromeda, that might like our show, or just if they like sci-fi in general, just share it around to wherever you can on your social media. It'd be greatly appreciated by us. So until next time, everyone, I'm Captain Foley.
I am Commander Coggins.
See ya.
I guess.